The story of the Dodgers bullpen in the 2025 season cannot be told honestly without circling back again and again to Evan Phillips, because his absence quietly shaped so many of the moments that felt unstable, uncertain, or simply out of character for this team. When the season began, the expectation was clear. This was supposed to be a relief core built on familiarity, experience, and trust in late innings, and Phillips had become the symbol of that reliability ever since his breakout a few years earlier. Instead, the Dodgers spent long stretches trying to survive without the one arm they trusted the most when games tightened. Long before spring training even started, there were already whispers that Phillips would not be at full strength to open the year. Still, most people believed it would be a temporary setback, something measured in days or maybe a couple of weeks. What no one anticipated was just how much ground would be lost. The right shoulder issue that kept him off the World Series roster the previous fall continued to linger, and the recovery timeline bled directly into the regular season. By the time the Dodgers finally took the field for opening day, Phillips was unavailable, and that absence stretched through the first 21 games, forcing the bullpen to constantly reshuffle roles that were never meant to change. When Phillips finally began facing hitters late in March, there was a cautious sense of optimism. He moved through a rehabilitation assignment in AAA, and while the results on paper were not eye-popping, they were largely dismissed as part of the process. The Dodgers were not asking for dominance right away, only signs that the arm was responding and the delivery looked clean. By mid-April, with the bullpen already under strain from other injuries, the team made the call to bring him back, activating him on April 18th as they continued juggling high-leverage innings with limited options. His return came against Texas, a matchup loaded with symbolism, and the Dodgers wasted no time putting him back into meaningful situations. There was no easing him in with low-stress innings. From the moment he stepped onto the mound, Phillips was asked to get outs that mattered. In 2 brief appearances, totaling just 1 inning of work, he recorded a pair of holds and struck out 3 of the 4 hitters he faced. The velocity was there, the command looked sharp, and most importantly, the confidence never wavered. Even after such a long layoff, he carried himself like the same pitcher the Dodgers had leaned on for years. That stretch, however, turned out to be painfully short. After only 7 appearances, Phillips began dealing with discomfort in his right forearm, a development that immediately raised red flags. The Dodgers tried to slow things down, exploring conservative options and hoping rest and treatment might stabilize the situation. A platelet-rich plasma injection was part of that attempt, an effort to avoid the worst-case scenario. It did not work. By late May, the decision was made to proceed with Tommy John surgery, effectively ending his season almost as soon as it had begun. The timing could not have been more cruel. Phillips finished the year with a 0.00 earned run average, a 1.059 walks and hits per inning pitch mark, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, and 5 2/3 innings of work. Those numbers look pristine, almost surreal, but they also underline how little he was actually able to contribute on the field. For a bullpen that desperately needed stability, losing him again created a ripple effect that never fully settled. Roles shifted nightly, leads felt less secure, and the late innings became a collective effort rather than a defined structure. One of the few defining moments of his season came in Atlanta, in what would be his only save of the year. Protecting a 1-run lead, Phillips faced the heart of the Braves lineup and delivered exactly what the Dodgers had missed for months. He overpowered 2 of the most dangerous hitters in the order, punching out both to close the game and secure a hard-fought win. For a brief moment, it felt like a glimpse of what might have been if health had allowed him to stay on the mound. Off the field, the situation grew more complicated as the year went on. Phillips was in his final year of arbitration eligibility, approaching 2026, and his salary for 2025 sat at $6.1 million. With a major surgery on his resume and a long recovery ahead, the Dodgers were forced into a difficult decision. In November, they chose not to tender him a contract, making him a free agent. It was a move rooted in financial reality rather than performance, but it still marked a quiet ending to a chapter that had once felt foundational. That decision does not necessarily close the door on a reunion. Given his history with the organization and the value he brings when healthy, the Dodgers have every reason to remain interested if the timing and terms align. Phillips, now in his early 30s, is expected to look for a short-term opportunity where he can prove his arm is sound and re-establish himself at the highest level. Wherever he lands, his 2025 season will stand as a reminder of how thin the margin can be between strength and vulnerability, especially for a bullpen built on precision and trust. While the spotlight often shines brightest on stars in the lineup or on the mound every fifth day, the story of Evan Phillips underscores how much a season can hinge on the availability of one reliever. The Dodgers did not just miss his arm. They missed the certainty he brought to the final outs of close games, the calm that allowed everyone else to settle into defined roles. Without him, the bullpen became a nightly puzzle, one that was never quite solved as the season unfolded. As the Dodgers turned the page from a turbulent season into the quiet tension of the offseason, the contrast was striking. For a franchise accustomed to constant movement and headline-grabbing additions, the weeks following the end of 2025 felt unusually still. There was no late December splash, no immediate answer to lingering roster questions, and that silence only amplified the conversation surrounding what this team still needs to address. Expectations around Los Angeles are never modest, and patience is rarely encouraged, especially after a year defined by missed opportunities and unfinished business. The club did make a couple of familiar and notable moves, bringing back a trusted infield presence for one more run and adding an accomplished closer whose entrance alone promises to energize the stadium. Beyond that, though, the roster remains a work in progress. The outfield picture is still unsettled, and while flexibility remains a strength, it also places pressure on the front office to act decisively. The Dodgers are positioned to reshape the infield if they choose, and the possibility of targeting a high-profile bat capable of adjusting positions has naturally fueled speculation across the league. Those discussions have only grown louder when paired with the reality of what the Dodgers already have in the middle of their lineup. Shohei Ohtani continues to redefine what excellence looks like in a Dodgers uniform. Since arriving, he has not just met expectations, he has obliterated them, rewriting franchise records and anchoring an offense that feels dangerous every time he steps to the plate. His ability to punish mistakes is well known, but what often gets overlooked is how complete his approach has become. He handles left-handed pitching with increasing confidence, adapts seamlessly to different pitch types, and consistently elevates the ball with authority. That combination makes him less streaky and more inevitable, the kind of hitter opposing teams never truly solve. Ohtani's presence also shapes how the Dodgers can afford to think long-term. With a cornerstone player in his prime, the urgency to surround him with complementary talent only grows. That urgency, however, comes at a cost, and nowhere is that more evident than in the financial landscape the Dodgers now occupy. 2025 marked a historic moment in that regard, with the organization paying a record amount in luxury tax penalties. Even with the competitive balance threshold climbing again, the Dodgers' payroll soared well beyond it, triggering additional surcharges tied to repeated seasons above the line. That financial reality is not just a footnote, it is part of the story. Paying that level of tax signals commitment, but it also narrows margins for error. Every contract, every injury, every underperforming role carries added weight. Other teams have danced around the threshold, dipping below when necessary, but the Dodgers have embraced their position at the top of the spending hierarchy. It is a strategy rooted in sustained contention, even if it means absorbing penalties that dwarf anything seen in previous seasons. Looking ahead, the picture does not suddenly become lighter. The threshold rises again for 2026, yet the Dodgers are projected to remain well above it. Even with money coming off the books, new commitments quickly fill the space. One contract alone adds a significant chunk back into the payroll, reinforcing the idea that this organization is choosing continuity and star power over restraint. It is a choice that keeps championship windows open, but it also demands results that justify the cost. Beyond the major league roster, there are signs of growth and ambition throughout the organization. The completion of a new minor league stadium ahead of schedule represents more than just infrastructure. It reflects an investment in development, in environment, and in the idea that success is built from the ground up as much as it is purchased at the top. A modern park, ready to host its first games in early April of 2026, sends a message that the future matters just as much as the present. All of these threads connect back to the same central tension. The Dodgers are not rebuilding, and they are not standing still, but they are navigating a narrow path where expectations remain sky-high and the margin for missteps is thin. The lessons of 2025, from bullpen instability to the fragility of even the most reliable arms, linger in the background. Health, depth, and timing will once again define how far this team can go, and every decision made now carries echoes of a season that never quite found its balance. All of this sets the stage for a Dodgers organization that feels both powerful and uneasy at the same time, a rare combination for a team so accustomed to controlling its narrative. The weight of expectations has not eased, and if anything, the events of the last season have sharpened the focus on areas that can no longer be ignored. The bullpen remains the clearest example of that reality, not because of a lack of talent, but because of how quickly a strength can unravel when health and timing fail to cooperate. What happened in 2025 was not just about missing arms, it was about losing definition, and that loss carried through the entire year. Late inning roles shifted constantly, forcing pitchers into situations they were never meant to handle on a nightly basis. Some rose to the challenge in short bursts, others struggled under the weight of expectation, and the overall effect was a bullpen that felt reactive instead of imposing. Without a consistent bridge to the final outs, games that should have felt controlled instead felt fragile. That sense of uncertainty seeps into a clubhouse, even when it goes unspoken, and it places added pressure on the offense to be nearly flawless. The front office understands that reality as well as anyone. Building a bullpen is not simply about collecting arms. It is about constructing a hierarchy that pitchers can trust. Defined roles allow confidence to grow, and confidence often translates directly into performance. The Dodgers have experienced what it looks like when that structure is in place, and they have also lived through what happens when it collapses. The offseason decisions ahead are shaped by that contrast, informed by a year where improvisation became the norm rather than the exception. At the same time, there's an awareness that no amount of planning can fully protect a roster from the unpredictability of injuries. Pitching, especially relief pitching, exists on a razor-thin edge. One small physical setback can cascade into months of absence, altering the trajectory of an entire season. That is why depth is valued so highly, and why the Dodgers continue to search for redundancy even when the payroll already sits near historic levels. Spending is not just about star power, it is about insulation. But before we move forward, don't forget to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest news about the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the news, so drop a comment below. Whispers are circulating across the baseball world, and if they prove true, the Los Angeles Dodgers are on the verge of pulling off one of the most audacious moves in recent memory. Sources close to the team suggest that the Dodgers are closing in on a blockbuster acquisition. VLADIMIR Guerrero Jr., the Toronto Blue Jays' prodigious slugger and one of the most feared bats in the game. If the deal goes through, rival pitchers across the league might want to start rethinking their strategies and their peace of mind. Guerrero Jr. has long been a sensation, combining raw power with uncanny hitting instincts that make him a nightmare at the plate. His presence in the Dodgers lineup would instantly shift the balance of power in the National League, creating a new layer of pressure on opposing pitchers who have struggled to contain his bat. Dodgers fans, already spoiled with star talent, would suddenly find themselves witnessing a lineup that could redefine dominance in the sport. Rumors hint that the front office sees Guerrero as the final piece to an already formidable roster, a player capable of turning tight games into runaway affairs with a single swing. The speculation alone is sending ripples through MLB circles. Analysts are already debating how the Dodgers might reshape their offensive strategy around Guerrero, and how his integration could impact everything from batting order dynamics to clubhouse chemistry. Some worry about the cost, both financial and in terms of team depth, but the potential upside is tantalizing. A Guerrero-led Dodgers lineup might not just compete, it could intimidate. Opposing pitchers, once confident in their approach, could find themselves second-guessing every pitch, knowing that one mistake could instantly change the course of a game. Sources also suggest that the Dodgers' pursuit has been meticulous, targeting Guerrero with the precision of a team intent on winning now. Negotiations are said to be moving quickly, fueled by mutual interest and a shared vision of championship glory. Whether this rumor crystallizes into reality remains to be seen, but if it does, the landscape of baseball could shift dramatically. Dodgers fans are already imagining nights filled with thunderous home runs, highlight reel catches, and a new era of offensive terror. VLADIMIR Guerrero Jr. to Los Angeles might be more than just a transfer. It could be the statement move that signals a new baseball dynasty in the making. That's all for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay up to date with exclusive news about the Los Angeles Dodgers, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We always appreciate your comments and feedback. See you in the next video.